No. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. You too. What's up, Gio? Stop sign. All the people like that don't pay the rules, the road skis. Man, it's cold, brothers and sisters. It's cold, dudes. It's cold. Let's head to work. We got double, triple. We're on it. Ooh, that guy's truck was tore up. What's up, Hanner? Nice baby. Yeah, waiting on it. Nope. Got the heat running. It's cold. Good thing it's not windy, Hanner. Hunter. Which one, man? Coaching me. I'm always going to say it the way I say it. It's HH, so it's Hanner. Yeah, man. Dudes. Cuts in front of me, even though it's construction, but it's turning right. I don't know why they blocked that lane, but they did make it. What's the point here? This is stupid here. Something's wrong. Oh, they never changed the light. That's what they did. It's just a normal traffic light. Trees look like they're holding the water and freezing up. You know, gotta worry about some power lines and freeze and snap. So we got crystal clear vision, guys. How's it look? 1080? Is Yami pixelated? He wants to know these questions now. He's got his Pixel 6. And I changed all the settings in the camera to motion, guys. So, dudes, what's it look like, Hanner? How we looking? How we looking, guys? Now, we're at a light. Video good. Thank you, Hanner. Hunter. Haha. The second H is not silent. So Hunter. Because if I say Hanner, then I'm putting an N, like I'm saying Han Solo. Hunter. RJ, yeah, man. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. I'm driving though.
Cranbrook Institute of Science and PNC Bank presenting Sue, the T-Rex Experience, an immersive exhibit for all ages, uncovering the mysteries of the life of this fearsome fossil. Information at science.cranbrook.edu. WDET is supported by Oakland University, offering an on-campus graduate open house in person on March 14th or as a virtual series March 15th through the 22nd. Learn more at oakland.edu/rad/open house.
During the pandemic, adult beverage makers had to make some adjustments, and some did, a little bit more than others.
Obviously, we're a distillery. We're supposed to make liquor, but when we look at last year's sales, almost 2/3 of what we sold were non-alcoholic drinks.
Some guy wrote about spirit making without booze. Next time on Marketplace.
Marketplace, this evening at 6 on 1019 WDET.
Up next on All Things Considered, are you a member of the Kroger loyalty program? Who is it? Well, what are they doing with all that information? Traffic is sponsored by the Detroit Mercy Theater Company, presenting Pride and Prejudice now through February 26th at the Marlene Bowl Theater. Tickets at DetroitMercyArts.com. Out there, the roads right now, for the most part, they're just wet. They've got salt down on the roads. We do have a crash northbound 75 before Sashabaw and northbound 75 after Dixie Highway. That's exit 93 just north of Sashabaw there. Things are a little bit more snowy up that way. Once you get around, southern Oakland County, lots of ice. Same goes in here in Midtown right now. Lots of icing happening. Winter weather advisory in effect for Wayne, Monroe, and Lenawee counties. Ice storm warning continues for Washtenaw, Oakland, Macomb County, St. Clair County as well. It's 420.
420,
Support
baby.
for NPR comes from this.
The roads have gotten worse, though, in my 12 miles up the highway. That's about how far we've driven. 12 miles. And it has gotten icier, like he just reported.
And from Mattress Firm, whether browsing online or in one of their stores, Mattress Firm is committed to providing personalized service and advice.
I don't need to blow by truckers, especially when we're the next exit, guys.
MattressFirm.com.
Hey, guys.
And from the sustaining members,
We're almost
this
at Pittsburgh,
NPR
guys.
station.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Ari Shapiro. Nearly every major grocery store chain has a loyalty program. You get discounts and rewards, the store gets information about what you buy. So what exactly happens to that information? Reporter John Keegan of The Markup investigated the Kroger grocery chain, and he found that customer data is worth a lot of money, and the information collected goes way beyond what you buy. John Keegan, welcome to All Things Considered.
Thanks for having me.
Start by explaining what kind of data Kroger collects and how they gather it.
Sure. So the kinds of information, what they do is, you have to sign up for a loyalty program card, right? And when you do that, you are sharing some personal information with the company. You're giving them your name, your phone number, your email address, probably your mailing address. That information is then taken and enriched. What they do is they go out to third-party data brokers, and they will take that information you gave them and kind of use it as a key to create a broader profile of who you are as a shopper. This can include demographic information about your race and ethnicity, your financial information, your employment status, and even some of your online browsing activity. So it's quite a bit of information that they're collecting, and I think most people, again, they're expecting it's just what types of chips you're buying, but it's actually quite a bit more information.
So the grocery store chain gathers all this info, and then what do they do with it?
So they take all this information and they sell insights that they derive from analysis back to the brands that sell things in supermarkets. This is extremely valuable information that the brands kind of need to understand not only what items are selling, but why.
How much money is Kroger making off of something like this?
Kroger is making quite a bit of money on this right now. So Kroger has its own data sciences company within its corporate structure called 8451. And this company is part of a group of alternative profit businesses under their umbrella that they expect will make $1 billion in profit for them per year. So it's quite a bit of money.
Should we as consumers view this as harmful, or could it actually be helpful for stores to understand us better so that they can give us more of what we want and less of what we don't?
Kroger would say that all of the data that they're collecting is helping making your shopping experience better for you. But it comes down to a couple of things. Number one, Kroger is taking this information and sharing it with an unknown number of partners. The other thing is that I don't think most people would consider their shopping items to be sensitive information, but you can look in someone's shopping cart and see if they're expecting a child, whether they're buying kosher foods, or you could get hints about their ethnicity or other things about what's happening in someone's household. So this is more sensitive information than I think most people expect.
What did Kroger say to you about all this?
We reached out multiple times to Kroger and we did not get any response. We reached out to Albertsons. Albertsons is included in this because Kroger and Albertsons recently announced a $24.6 billion merger, which would take the number one and number two supermarket chains in the United States and create this new, the largest supermarket chain in America, which would include half of American households as customers. So Albertsons gave us some information about how they use this stuff. Also in Kroger's privacy policy, and both with Albertsons as well, they say that all the information that they share with third-party companies is anonymized and aggregated, and they take privacy very seriously.
So what's your bottom line guidance for consumers?
I would say that most people, when they have to make a decision, when you're entering into this value exchange with a supermarket, it's important to know exactly what you're giving up. And I think the less you know about exactly the extent of that data collection, it may be a less fair value that you're getting. If you're a California or a Nevada or a Virginia resident, you have the ability to opt out of these programs and still use the rewards program. And then if you're in California or Virginia, you can request a copy of your data to see exactly what information is being collected. And if you're worried about being tracked, we talked to some experts and they said the best thing to do is not sign up for the rewards program and pay with cash.
Is that what you do when you go grocery shopping?
Well, I don't pay with cash, but I do not give my number for a rewards program, although my wife and I have a disagreement about that.
That's John Keegan of the Markup. Thanks for your reporting.
Thank you very much.
The pastry baklava is a delicacy in southern Turkey, and the earthquake that killed tens of thousands of people there and in Syria also disrupted this proud culinary tradition. Well, NPR's Daniel Estrin reports that one famous family restaurant is baking the dessert again, though the mood is hardly festive.
The Çağdaş family are the baklava barons of Gaziantep. The city's known for the sticky sweet pastry. Orhan Çağdaş is in the 5th generation and says his family is one of the city's oldest makers of baklava.
Spun some tires, guys. It's getting slick.
In the top 5, I'm sure about it.
His family's restaurant, Imam Çağdaş, ships their baklava across Turkey and as far away as Australia. They serve kebabs and local dishes too.
Baklava.
The restaurant survived the recent catastrophic earthquake, but the owners were sleeping in their car. More than 200 people, employees with their families, slept on the restaurant floor. Some had homes destroyed. And the family stopped baking baklava for the first time in about 90 years. Çağdaş says it seemed like more of a luxury than a need.
Ya biz burada ne varsa içeride işte.
He says in Turkish, the restaurant transformed itself into a charity kitchen, cooking whatever leftover meat they had, preparing soup, feeding thousands of people a day, delivering children's medicines. 9 days after the quake, Çağdaş convinced his father to reopen the restaurant and make baklava again. Their customers were asking, and it sent a message.
This dessert is the symbol of this city.
He continues in Turkish.
Tamamen hani geleneksel yöntemlerle.
It is a dessert that is made entirely with manpower. It's not like produced by machines or anything. I think it is a sign things are improving, things are getting better, because people can work and people can produce baklava. So I think it's a nice thing to be able to produce it again.
16 bakers dressed in white roll out dough onto a white marble table in a bright white room with wafting clouds of starch. It's a dreamy sight. We watch the whole delicate process, layering a tray with buttery ghee from the neighboring city Orfa, which some believe was the birthplace of the biblical patriarch Abraham. then some Turkish kaymak cream and homegrown emerald pistachios before slicing the tray into portions.
It looks easy but hard to start.
So baklava is back, but things aren't the same. Here in the restaurant, nearly all the customers are aid workers or civil engineers inspecting damage. At one table, we meet two Turkish car repair shop owners who flew in from Istanbul to volunteer. Erkan Şenel says it's been a grim experience.
My friend here maybe carried out over 20 bodies out of the rubble.
Chanel said they hadn't showered in a week and finally took a break to come to this famous restaurant for a bite. But then they couldn't stomach it.
Aslında biz depremden sonra yemek yemeyi ve
I can't tell you how hard it is to try to eat something after what we've seen in the earthquake zones. And we know the earthquake victims, our fellow citizens, are in such pain. It's hard for us to eat anything. We ordered food, we weren't able to eat it. We ordered this baklava. I just took a bite and I stopped.
He says he could go on forever praising the baklava at Imam Çağdaş, but he just didn't feel like this was the right time.
Wow.
Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Gaziantep, Turkey.
This is NPR News.
Concrete broke. Wow. The ramp
Gulchera
jumped in, the
Hoja
concrete
hadn't
broke.
seen her family in years until they turned up on Chinese state TV.
After many years, I saw their face. I was just happy to see them.
Her own mother had been brought on TV to denounce her, a Uyghur woman's story, on the next Morning Edition from NPR News.
A Uyghur.
Morning
Gee.
Edition with Pat
Gee,
Baxter.
Beatles
starts
just
at
told me
5
that
a.m.
word
right
was
here in
racist.
Detroit's
A
NPR
Uyghur.
station.
You guys know what a
I'm
Uyghur
Mary
is?
Zena, WDET General Manager.
They say it right here on liberal radio, guys.
News and for the
Yeah,
music
you know what it is?
old, new, local.
Interesting,
All
right?
local programs have
You guys should Google that. What a Uyghur. Yeah, he didn't say Wigger.
It's expensive. Your
Yup.
gift now keeps news, music,
Yeah,
and
see how they
content
treat those
free
people
on
in
the air.
China.
Generous support is vital. Make your gift now
Yup.
at WDET.org.
Out there on the roads, we are looking at. some
Hey,
delays in
Stephanie, how
Vancouver
are you? Good to
westbound.
see you.
As you approach Little Mac,
Yup.
there's a crash in the left lane. US 23 northbound at Townsend Road. There's a crash.
Yup,
US
a
23
Uyghur.
northbound after M14. Crash blocks the right lane.
And I'm racist for
Northbound
saying it.
75,
But the liberals can
two
just blurt it out on
crashes,
radio.
one at Sashaba and another one
And that's where I
on the
learned it.
freeway at Dixie Highway.
And then I learned through Louder with Crowder what the word really meant and how wrong it was. And what China does to those people. And I hate people. Oh yeah, okay.
Visit to Eastern Europe to mark the first
Unbelievable.
anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Before leaving Poland, Biden met with the leaders of NATO's eastern flank to reaffirm the
You know
U.S.
what?
commitment to the security of the region.
That's that. What can you do?
Security assistance to Ukraine.
Yep. We gave them tanks because we're starting World War III.
Refugees.
Yep.
Help to ensure Ukrainians can access basic services.
Get ready,
And
folks.
together, we'll continue our enduring support for Ukraine.
Yeah,
as they
it's starting.
defend their freedom.
It's starting to frost over just north of Detroit.
That Russian President Vladimir Putin could
My
take military
Canadian
action
friend.
next if he's successful
Right? You're in
in
Canada,
Ukraine.
are you? I don't know.
Thursday marks 1 year since Russian
Was
troops
Jay in
invaded
Canada?
Ukraine.
Oh
The
God.
World
Which
Organization
one was
says
it?
international funding is still urgently
No,
needed
you're in
to
Canada,
rebuild
I know
health
it.
systems in northwest Syria after the recent earthquakes there. NPR's Noreen Eisenman has more.
WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says the quakes have damaged 7 hospitals and 145 health facilities in Syria, many of them in the northwestern rebel-held region that was already devastated after years of conflict with Syria's government.
Whoa! What's
And while
up,
World Health
people?
officials say they've largely managed to restore
Cheers.
supplies of medicines to the region, they're facing a much bigger challenge when it comes to rebuilding basic health infrastructure. To that end, Tedros is calling on international donors to fund
We
relief
got
efforts
one.
fueled by the WHO, nearly $85 million in health relief funding for Syria, as well as neighboring Turkey in the wake of the earthquakes. Marie Eisenman, NPR News. Further miss on Wall Street today, the Dow was down 84 points, the Nasdaq Composite rose 14. You're listening to
Ha-ha.
NPR News.
in Washington.
It's 4:32. Good afternoon. I'm Russ McNamara with news from WDET. Following last week's mass shooting at Michigan State University, students are asking school administrators to implement safety measures on campus. More on that from Virgin Tucker.
Students gathered in a Bessie Hall classroom at MSU Tuesday to air out their concerns after returning to in-person instruction. Many say they want to see the school require ID key cards to access campus buildings and locks installed on classroom doors.
It's the
But others
usual,
don't want
Stephanie.
excessive security, including armed
I get a
guards and
bowl
extended surveillance to detract from a positive
with
learning
chicken.
environment. Intern
And we eat
President
it
Teresa
upside
Woodruff
down.
And other administrators attended the town hall. She says
Yo.
officials want to work
Where's the
collaboratively
chicken?
with students to address concerns.
I think the
Mike
between
Vincent.
admin and students is very little right now because we all have a shared experience.
Students also criticized the return to in-person instruction as hasty and asked the university to improve its emergency communications. I'm
I
Virgin
put
Tucker.
my bag.
The Michigan Court of Appeals says
There we
police
go.
use of force policies are open records and must be shared with the public. The court released a unanimous ruling today against the city of Sault Ste. Marie. The city tried to redact large portions of its policies from a Freedom of Information request. Stephen Van Stempvoort is an attorney for the ACLU and the Michigan Press Association.
The public has the right to know the policy positions of
That's
local
right.
governments on those important questions.
I did have one of your putskis though
It was a
when I
good
came
day
home.
for public transparency, and I think it was also significant in terms of the public discussion surrounding use of force.
The court opinion said none of the requested information dealt with information that would put officers in danger and noted many departments make their use of force policies available online. A winter storm is impacting Metro Detroit right now. Craig Bryson with the Road Commission for Oakland County says roads, especially side streets, can look safe when they are not.
This is actually, I think, a little bit more challenging for drivers because it's really hard to tell when you're driving. You know, the road can look like it's just wet when in fact it might be icy or vice versa.
Freezing rain coming down now in Oakland, Macomb, northern Wayne counties, as well as Washtenaw counties. A winter weather advisory and ice storm warning is in effect for those areas right now. Further to the north, we're seeing lots of snowfall right now.
Snowfall.
It's 4:35.
4:35.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Indeed, a hiring platform designed to streamline the candidate search process.
Thank you for popping in.
Attract, screen, and interview candidates.
Send me a
All
message.
from the employer dashboard. More at Indeed.com.
So Beetle just can wonder why, and I can explain it to her.
And from Procter & Gamble, maker of Metamucil, a fiber supplement containing psyllium.
Stephanie was like,
plant-based fiber for trapping and removing waste and
Reaper Man's
digestive
adopted
system.
granddaughter.
Designed to be taken
That's how
every
I
day.
would look at it.
More
Or
at
even daughter.
Metamucil.com.
Yep.
This is NPR.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly. To news now of a major raid by Israeli troops.
I went to
in
high
the
school with a kid named
Palestinian
Ari
city of
Shapiro.
Nablus today. That's in the occupied West Bank. It was a rare
was Jewish.
daytime raid in that city's crowded center. Palestinian officials say at least 11 people were killed, and they blame Israeli forces. Israel says its forces came under fire as they killed 3 militants who had staged attacks and were planning more. Well, this is the latest in a series of
Militant
raids and
attacks.
raising fears the violence could escalate yet further. Joe Fetterman is the AP News Director, supervising coverage of Israel and the Palestinian territories. He's on the line now from Jerusalem.
Oh, we're calling in from Jerusalem.
Great, thanks for having me on.
Fill us in on whatever other details you've been able
If
to
you believe
nail
that.
down in terms of what actually happened today.
Well, as you mentioned, the raid took place in broad daylight, and that's something that doesn't happen that often. The Army tries to operate at night. They say that this also minimizes the chances of what we saw today, civilian casualties. And the reason they moved in the daylight was because they had intelligence. They wanted militants, somebody who was wanted in the killing of an Israeli soldier last fall. They had found his hideout, and they had to move quickly. So they pulled off this rare operation, but it sparked very heavy fighting.
May I ask, have you or other AP reporters there been able to fact check or verify that Israeli account of things in terms of just how urgent they say it was to go in the daytime?
Well, they're talking about intelligence, and that's not something that they normally share with us.
Yeah.
What we do know is that Palestinian militant groups, and Nablus is known as a stronghold of militant groups, confirmed that the 3 people who were targeted in the original raid were indeed members of an armed group. In all, 6 of the people have been confirmed as members of militant groups.
Today.
But there were also 2 older men. Also, a 16-year-old boy was killed.
How are Palestinian leaders reacting to this?
It's a pattern that we've seen many times in the past. Palestinian leaders in the West Bank obviously are upset. They're appealing for the international community to hold Israel to account. But what you also see in the Gaza Strip on the other side of Israel, that's a territory that is controlled by the Hamas militant group. And Hamas came out with a very belligerent statement saying that its patience is running thin. Another group, Islamic Jihad, which also is very strong in Gaza, is vowing revenge.
How real is the fear that this will escalate tensions that are already clearly running so high?
I'm very wary of making predictions. You can only sort of analyze on what we've seen in the past. And when there's an Israeli raid like this, there's usually a response. There could be attempts of further violence, and then things just continue to spin and build on each other.
When you talk to people there in Jerusalem and beyond, is there a sense of weariness, of fear, of anger? What?
The people who are affected the most are in the West Bank. And if you saw the scenes in Nablus today, it started as a pinpoint raid, but it quickly spread. So heavy damage to an entire, really, neighborhood. Stores were shot up, cars were flattened. So there's a lot of public anger on the Palestinian side. On the Israeli side, in Jerusalem, we're a little bit insulated. Nablus is about 30 miles or so away from here, but you can feel the tension, and the police announced not too long ago that they are going on the heightened alert now.
He's almost as big as that umbrella.
In Jerusalem and also in the West Bank.
Joe Fetterman of the AP, the Associated Press, speaking with us from Jerusalem. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The Biden administration says it's concerned that China is considering giving Russia lethal support for its campaign in Ukraine. Nearly a year into the war, by all accounts, that hasn't happened yet, and Beijing continues to try to walk a very fine line. NPR's John Ruich reports from the China-Russia border.
On the banks of the Amur River in the town of Haifa, there's a huge trading center. It's called Ulpin, which roughly translates to Russian products of plenty. The ground floor is a hypermarket full of stuff from Russia: crackers, vodka, soap. And upstairs, Yuan is live streaming China's version of TikTok from a product showroom. She's flogging Russian sea salt, flour, and other goods.
I feel like people are all supporting Russia. There was a time at the start of the war when people online were frenetic about buying Russian products, just to show
Who's
their
listening,
support of
baby?
Russia.
Who's listening?
And she supports Russia too.
I hope Russia wins. We're pro-Russia.
That sentiment is easy to understand in China, especially in a border town like Haifa. On the eve of the war last year, China and Russia announced that they had a no-limits partnership. Chinese officials speak regularly about how strong the country's ties are with Russia, and Beijing has refused to condemn the invasion of Ukraine. Tong Zhao is a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He says 12 months of war has only enhanced something that Chinese policymakers believed at the outset.
China has come to this conclusion that this is a war that was firstly provoked by the US-led Western countries and then was used by the US-led Western countries to weaken Russia.
That scares Beijing, and it makes China more willing to show solidarity.
Russia being weakened basically means the team is weakened. And if Russia is defeated, then China becomes the next target.
Recent Western military assistance to Ukraine has only added to Beijing's anxiety. But there are constraints.
China still has choices to make, and these choices are increasingly difficult.
Liberal radio, remember that.
A visiting professor at Brown University who specializes in Chinese and Russian security.
Russia is not a big market for China, not compared to Korea, Japan, or the United States, or Europe. And I think that explains a lot of China's policy.
Yep.
Chinese trade with Russia has soared since the start of the war. But officials say it still amounts to just 3% of China's total trade. So on the war, Beijing's rhetoric has been shrill, but its actions relatively restrained. That's what may have been on display in June. The senior Russia hand and Vice Foreign Minister Lo Yucheng was abruptly removed from his post. Carnegie's Tong Zhao again.
He had been very vocal in supporting Russia, pushing China to adopt a sympathetic approach. after Russia invaded Ukraine, and there was some internal reflection on that decision.
Back in Haiti, the economy is finally starting to sputter back to life. 3 years after COVID controls. The border with Russia remains closed to individuals, and there's no traffic on a new bridge over the river. A street vendor frying meat and egg crepes says business is still way down. Yeah. He says there aren't any Russians visiting like normal. And even though he doesn't understand high politics, he supports Russia in the war because they're good neighbors. Inside Upingpo, the trading center, shopkeeper Jia Changhai fiddles with some Russian stacking dogs. He complains his business is hurting because the Russian ruble has been hit hard by the war.
We want Russia to end the war soon. When it ends, we can develop the economy. There is no time now to develop the economy.
This week, China's top diplomat Wang Yi is visiting Moscow, preparing for a potential trip by Xi Jinping in the coming months. Beijing says it
How do you end the war? That's the question.
Western leaders insistent on a Russian defeat. China's balancing act may become a little trickier as the conflict enters its second year. Don Lubitsch, NPR News, in Heihe, China-Russia border.
Very interesting.
You're listening
Welcome to the
All Things
stream.
Considered from NPR News.
All things considered, NPR News, guys.
The derailment of a train carrying
Oh yeah, they
toxic
decided to
chemicals
just blow it
over 2
up.
weeks ago has brought national attention
Yup,
to the
they're gonna blow it
residents
up.
of East Palestine, Ohio.
Or they already
Some of the
blew it
people
up.
Most impacted by the derailment live in Pennsylvania, some just yards from the state line. Pennsylvania's governor visited with some of his state's affected
You see nice
residents
weather here?
yesterday. Some say they still feel like they're left out of recovery efforts, as
You see no nice
WPSA's
weather?
Oliver Morrison reports.
Welcome, Honey Bunch.
lives just over a mile away from where Norfolk Southern's train derailed. He could see fire over the trees in his front yard. Hostetter lives a half-mile away from the Ohio border in rural Pennsylvania. And he doesn't feel like his family has help because he lives in a different state.
We're like in a different world out here. They're leaving us out. And this is serious. I mean, you know, we want to know how bad it really is.
When the derailment occurred 2 weeks ago, Hostetter wasn't going to leave his home. But once he and his family saw what the toxic plume looked like, they hit the road.
We set up on the hill there to see.
I think I fixed it. Cooling it down though. She overheats, guys. I don't understand this foam. It's supposed to be a great foam. I'm, running the heat to warm my truck up. So I'm just having a warm cab, and the phone overheats. Now I got I don't have the air conditioning on, but I have the cold air. There you go, blowing on the screen, cooling it down. Turning the radio down right there. No.
Changed before releasing toxic chemicals. Even though Norfolk Southern said the process was necessary to prevent a catastrophic.
We're back.
Clouds were low. They knew it. And they were just in a hurry to get it out of there so they could bring the trains through. So they put money over human beings as far as I'm concerned.
The weather doesn't heed arbitrary state lines, Hostetter says, and he doesn't think the company's or government's response should either. For NPR News, I'm Oliver Morrison in Pittsburgh.
It's 4:48. Good afternoon, I'm Russ McNamara. Up next on All Things Considered, NPR CEO John Lansing claims that NPR must lay off 10% of its workforce to address a budget shortfall.
A publicly funded radio station, guys.
WDET is supported by Fifth Third Bank. Fifth Third Momentum Banking offers no hidden fees, early paydays, and money when customers need it. Learn more at 53.com/momentum.
I'm Asma Khalid. As a political reporter for NPR, I talk to people around the country about their lives and their needs. And I believe there is one thing we all need, a news source we trust. Tens of millions come to NPR for exactly that. When you donate your old car to this station, we'll turn it into tomorrow's news. The news you trust.
Yeah, Mother Waddles. Give your car to
Get the
Mother
process going
Waddles.
now at wdet.org/cars.
I ain't half,
WDET
guys.
is
I'm
supported
sorry.
by UMS presenting Step Africa.
This ain't no,
the
like,
first professional
super
dance company
mukbang
dedicated
streams
to the
or none of
tradition
that.
stepping. Step Africa integrates
I mean,
song and storytelling into a high energy
The more weight
performance.
people
March
lose,
12th at
I
Ann
believe
Arbor
my
Solo
stomach is
Auditorium.
shrinking.
UMS.org.
Because I just get full.
Is sponsored by Kresge Arts and Detroit. The Salon series explores the minds of Detroit culture creators. Details at KresgeArtsInDetroit.org. 94 West Senator
Full.
Little there's a crash blocking the left lane.
I am
US 23
stuffed.
Northbound at Thompson Road in Genesee County. There's a crash. US 23 northbound after M14 is a crash in the right lane. We're being impacted by a major winter storm right now. Ice, the main concern with this storm. DTE Energy says about 13,000 customers are currently out. Icing is happening on the trees. Those trees come down, they hit wires, and you'll be without power. Now would be a good time to charge your phone. Freezing rain will continue tonight, well into the overnight hours, but it will warm up tomorrow.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Ari Shapiro.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly, and now for some news about NPR itself. NPR announced a major restructuring today and revealed it's about to lay off about 10% of the workforce. Our CEO, John Lansing, cited a drop of $30 million in projected advertising revenues. NPR media correspondent David Folkenflik joins me. And David, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, but this is a tough day, as you know, here at NPR.
Yeah, look, it's a real loss, as John Lansing said.
Yeah, look, guys,
And a
you
number
know.
of staff. I've been here over 18 years. It's the toughest cuts I've seen. It's probably the toughest since the early 80s. What we know
Cuts
is
are
not a
coming
lot,
later,
because of the extent of
dudes.
it. And what John Lansing said to me was that it would not be